to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
You're more than welcome.
So tell our viewers, who is this guy?
This is Straight and Narrow. He's our little two-headed snake that was born almost 5 years ago, which really makes them rare because normally they don't make it after 5 years. 2 months is usually their life expectancy.
Really?
Yeah.
How rare is it even to be a two-headed snake?
Well, it happens more often in nature than people think, but the thing is they die in nature. What happens is you got two heads, two different opinions, and they try to eat, one saying no, the other one saying yes, and the next thing you know, they starve to death.
Really?
Yeah, and they starve to death, or they can't avoid predators.
Or do they ever eat something at the same time?
That actually happened last night.
So that's rare. They don't usually eat at the same time.
Well, no, what happened was that we were feeding one of the heads, and the other head got a hold of the other end. And so we ended up having to cut the...
Worm?
Well, we'll just say worm. Yeah, it's a mouse.
Oh, the mouse. Oh, wow. That is so wild. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but,
okay, so how do you end up in your possession?
Well, we raised corn snakes as a hobby. And the whole thing started as an accident, really. But and then one day out of the incubator, here he came.
So you saw him born. You knew the mom.
Oh, yeah, I got pictures of it. And he was really cool. So he's been a celebrity since day one. And how he got his name was the fact that a week after they're hatched, they have to shed. Then we feed them. And we're just hoping that they would eat. And this guy, well, we finally gave it to one of the heads, and he just ate it right down. It's like hitting the lottery. Man, he's eating. Everything's going down. We fed it to the other head, and he got halfway down and got stuck. And we're thinking, oh my God, this guy's the size of a pencil, bones are soft, and we have to try to get this little pinky out of his mouth. Well, we did, and we thought we heard him, but we didn't. And so that's how he got his name. Food went straight in on one side, restricted on the other. His name is Straight and Narrow.
Oh my goodness. What's the most amount you've been offered for him? I know people want to buy him.
At one time before the cardiomegaly showed up, I think we could probably got about 15 to 20,000.
I know. And you said no, you got attached to him?
No, that money would have gone to my wife's therapy for losing a kid.
You guys got attached. Wow.
Oh yeah, she's very, very much attached to this young guy.
So explain. Okay, so you just said about the cardio. Our viewers don't know yet. Okay, so there's a lump. This is a lump?
Yep, right there.
This is a lump. Okay, so so explain, because this is really fascinating.
Well, what happens is, first of all, a two-headed snake, all he's got is one set of organs all the way down.
Okay.
Okay, which is kind of nice. Sometimes they have two hearts, sometimes they have two stomachs.
Okay. Just like Siamese twins, yeah.
Just like Siamese twins. But this guy has just one of everything, and all of a sudden his heart is starting to swell, and it's starting to get kind of big, and so he's lasted 5 years almost. So this is wonderful for him. I mean, but unfortunately, in human world, it's cardiomegaly. In reptile world, it's crap, because he's got that disease. And
you said because they're always fighting with each other, or that it's overstressing the body.
They have two opinions. If he was, if we were to put him down on the ground, you can see him go left, right, left, right, left, right, and so we kept his brother that was born at the same time, just to monitor his growth. Well, he was falling behind, because what happens is his brother, when we take him outside on the lawn or something, his brother would just glide along and do his business. This guy would left, right, left, right. He's burning more calories because of both decisions. So we upped his food intake, and he started to get better.
Wow. And so how come the brother never makes appearances with him?
Well, the brother got sold.
Okay, so you just kept them for a little bit. Okay. Wow, this is so crazy. So how much can we buy? So we can buy snakes from you, or just like having them, but they're mainly for corn snakes. Explain that.
I like corn snakes. The reason I like corn snakes is because they're the most harmless reptile you can have.
What's the difference between a corn snake and other snakes?
Well, like pythons and boas, they got a full set of teeth, serrated, pointed backwards, and we call them snaky rules. So if you ever break a snaky rule, that they'd snap at you. And he has never bit anybody that I know of. But anyway, with a corn snake, they just got one little spike in the top of their mouth, because they're constrictors, and if they bite at you, you might get a little dot of blood. That's it. Pythons and boas, you're getting out the first aid kit.
So these are mainly to be pets, or to keep pests away. Like, what's the purpose for fun?
These are just pets.
Nice.
Yeah, and what's really cool about them is you can go on vacation for a week or two, and they don't care. And you don't need a babysitter.
That's a right kind of pet to have.
Do you think?
How do you see a lot of people like the stigma surrounding snakes, that they get kind of like they see how harmless he is, so they open up a little bit more?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, you got to tell them the first impression people have, it's a snake, and what's the first thing that most people want to do if they see a snake? Kill it. Okay, well, you got to tell them he is harmless, and then once you get that out of the way, that atmosphere gone, then they're pretty receptive. But corn snakes to me are the best ones to have.
Do you have any other pets?
No, just snakes.
Okay, because they can't get a lot. You wouldn't be able to have another pet, would you?
Well, we're also allergic to dogs and cats.
Okay.
Okay, and with snakes, they're really cool, And like I said,
Do you have other reptiles or just snakes?
yeah, we have a total of 5.5 snakes.
Oh.
Okay,
What's the half?
Well, we got 5 bodies, but we got 6 heads.
I love that. Oh my goodness. And so, like, you guys do go to farmers markets and stuff. What do you do there? Do you get a booth and then have the kids play with them? Like, what does he do?
Well, actually, this is a once in a lifetime, because there's not very many of these around. I mean, at all. And so we feel blessed, and we want people to see something that's not photocropped, that's not just put on a computer or your phone. And so we have all these little kids and stuff that our only pay is smiles, and we've got thousands of smiles.
I bet.
And a lot of the people that come in that really know reptiles and know how rare this is, we get a lot more than that. Are you really doing this? Is he really out here? And you say, yeah. So.
Oh my goodness. And then do you guys ever do private events or parties? Do people ask for that?
We did for a little while, but right now with this condition, we've kind of put it off to the side a little.
So does he get too excited when he comes on things like this? You try to limit his engagement a little bit right now because of his problem, his cardio?
No, not really, because you can tell right now how vicious he is, Yeah, and this is what he does, But we don't want to do it every day.
Right.
Okay, so once a week at farmers market would be fine, But every time we go to the pet store to buy feeders, he comes with us, And so people at the pet store, customers, they get to see something. So we're in Clovis all the time. So a lot of the Clovis people get to see him, always. But other cities, they don't get to see him at all.
Do you get to sleep with him?
He's in his cage.
You never bring him on the bed with the popcorn and watch TV with him?
Actually, I can't say no to that. We have a bunch of other ones that that are also just as nice. My favorite one is Suey. It's the same color, and he's getting close to probably 16 years old, and he will actually tell me that he has to go potty, and I have to take him out of his cage, and I take him outside.
How does he do that?
Comes out of his house and just starts staring at me.
Wow.
You know, so I said, okay. Of course, it's 10 o'clock at night. Suey, quit that, you know.
How often do they go to the bathroom?
It depends on how much they eat.
So it's just like a regular, any type of pet?
Yeah, well, 2 days after they eat, they normally have to go. And so they have trained us to take them outside after they eat. And
2 days after they eat? So how much do they eat? How often do they eat?
well, it's a seasonal thing. During the winter, food goes way down because they're semi-hibernating.
Right.
During the summer, I should say the spring, mating season comes along. All the males are, I don't care about food, I'm looking for a girl. During the summer, they start to gorge themselves to make prepared for the winter.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so.
So what about the fall? And in between time?
Well, they're still gorging.
So how much does it cost to like feed him or like your snakes in general? Like it get pretty pricey, right?
Well, it could be. You know, it depends on your budget, but feeders for them are probably about, just figure $3 a feed. You know, $3
Oh, that's
a
not
mouse.
too bad. Okay.
Okay, and he'll probably eat 2 or 3 at a shot. Then we don't feed him for another week or 2. And so,
Wow.
but compare that to dog food and cat food, you know. Well, and they don't complain. You don't have to take them out and walk them.
Have you ever put him on a plane?
No, that would, because you're making reference to that movie.
No, but now that you say it, no, because I wondered about it, and you said that you've only stayed in the Clovis area, and you don't get to like put him everywhere. And I'm like, I wondered if you ever like visited family somewhere and like took him on there, and how he would react.
No, he wouldn't react at all. He'd just be happy in this little cage, you know. But unfortunately, people don't consider him a comfort animal. So I couldn't bring him on like a ferret or a little dog or something like that, you know. So,
Well, you keep him in the cage, so.
yeah, but that's one of your carry-ons. Getting that through security would be fun.
So at home, like, do you ever just let him roam around the house? Or some of your snakes are around, they're always in a cage, and then you take him outside in the backyard to play? Or like to go to
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Or we just pick them up to hold them. You know, we just walk around.
But you can't like do the dishes and sit him over there in the room and have him
No.
go room to room?
No.
What would be the harm in that?
The harm is that he may go to the bathroom on your carpet, and you don't want that. So.
Would he try to eat things he's not supposed to eat?
No.
Do you ever worry about him getting
No, there's
into
nothing down there to eat. You know, just. But they are little Houdinis. They will disappear on you. And
So that's the big harm.
yeah, and so, and we've had a couple babies when we were raising them. They actually got out, and we never have found them. You know, so, but
Wow.
they've got to be, you know, gone by now.
And then breeding, can you breed him? Have you tried to breed him?
Actually, we have some eggs in the incubator right now. Supposedly he's the daddy, but I really don't think he was paying attention. I just think he was enjoying the company.
So then, what do they say about when they have babies? Are the odds of them becoming an anomaly like this, or is it not?
It's the same odds, you know, as always. You know, just.
So they might have a normal baby.
Oh yeah, they would all be normal. I'm almost guaranteed. You know.
Oh my goodness. So what's the life expectancy of a non-two-headed snake, like the other ones that you have?
Anywhere from 15 to 20 years. And I got one now that's 16, 17 years old.
And you've had him from the very beginning?
Oh yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah. That's the one that will tell me he has to go to the bathroom.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is such a pleasure. I've seen him for the past couple of years, and the best thing he ever did for me was scare the
Crap out of your manager?
Yeah, at the 509. That was a very awesome moment.
Show him the scoot, show him his scoots underneath, how beautiful his.
It is. He looks like a piano.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. That is so pretty. I mean, this is going to sound like a morbid question, but like when they pass and everything, do you like snakeskin boots or belts is kind of like having them around, or is that weird? Is that you guys don't do stuff like that?
No, we don't do things like that. We would give him a very nice place to go, you know, and something that we can we're not going to get him stuffed or anything like
Okay.
that. Okay, you know, but no, we just build him a nice little grave.
Aw.
You know, and then we have to leave a couple of signs out there saying he has passed. But we've had great 5 years so far.
Do you ever worry about him getting stolen because he is so special?
No, not really. I mean, at first, yes, but right now, no. We don't feel that.
No, yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh, look, he got between the dress. That's kind of funny. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that's
this is typical for the for a couple of guys.
I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him out. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. And
You're
where can we
welcome.
follow him on Instagram? Tell our viewers where we can follow him.
His name is Straight and Narrow 559, and he'll see all the pictures on there from farmers markets, reptile shows, being born, drinking water. That's how gentle he is.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You have a
Excited to
crazy,
talk.
crazy story though. Crazy story.
Yes, very, very out of the ordinary, not something you hear all the time.
So I met you doing a NAMI Walk event. We just had Gordy on a few weeks ago. And so mental health, and it's so vast and so broad now, the awareness of it, the levels, the layers. And
Right.
so you walk almost every year with this. Like you've been
Right.
involved with them for a while, right?
Yeah, as much as I can be, anything that involves bringing awareness to mental health, I try to be a part of.
So tell us your story of how you got involved in all of this.
Sure. So I was 20, it was the day before my 23rd birthday. My dad took my mom's life, my little brother's life, and then his own life. It was a pretty big murder-suicide. It was all over the news, everywhere. And besides the fact that he did such a horrific thing, I really just wanted to bring awareness to people on it. A lot of people who knew him or our family had no idea that was something that was coming. We danced, I was in cheer, we were very on the outside, normal family.
I'm big, and I mean, like for you to do that, and you guys worked for a law firm, you and your mom did.
Yeah,
so
we
you guys
all
were
worked
like
for a
in the
law
community.
firm. We were very in the community. Yeah, my dad was, he was a school bus driver. He worked at Sportsmobile building vans, and after that worked for the school district. And I mean, the kids in our neighborhood loved him.
Was it during the time or beforehand? Was he retired?
Oh, during the time. Yeah, he was a school bus driver during the time. There was tons of kids neighborhood kids who didn't have father figures that would come play basketball with my brother and him.
Oh my goodness.
They worked out all the time. It was all very normal. But what was going on the inside, especially with my dad, was not, and we didn't know about it.
What was
to a
going on in
degree.
the inside? Like, what was your family life growing up? Okay, so you go in all these activities. You guys eat
Right.
dinner on the regular. Like, what'd you guys do?
Yeah, for the most part, it was very normal. But there was a lot of just things that people didn't know about, we didn't speak of. There was a lot of, he was very possessive, very controlling, just very, like if we had to do something, we wanted to go do something, we had to ask my dad. It was like, if we asked my mom, it was like, you have to ask him.
Your
He
mom
was the
didn't even
authority.
matter about the
Right,
opinion. Okay.
right. He was the authority. He was very strict on us. I mean, we did get, the normal punishments. Nothing crazy as far as that goes. Everything was pretty normal as far as that went.
Well, you were a cheerleader and had a kid pretty young.
Yes, I did. And that, oh my gosh, that was scary.
I
Dealing
can
with
only
him,
imagine.
I was petrified to tell him I was only 8. I had her at 18, so I was right out of high school. And he did talk to me for like a month. Yeah, it was pretty, but him and her ended up being like glued to each other. So it was really hard when he did when he did all that for her too, because she was only 4.5. And it was like one day they're here, one day they're not. And then the next day was my birthday. So it was a lot to deal with.
So, okay, you have a very traditional family. The mom doesn't really have a say in anything. She's a voiceless, just authoritative. Your dad,
Right.
So were they getting along most of the time because she was keeping the peace and then wasn't fighting back? And then at one point she's like, "No, I'm done." Tell us how that started dissolving their marriage.
No, I mean, they got along, I guess, for most of the time, but we did grow up hearing a lot of arguing. I mean, I would say when they talk about like, it wasn't ever physical, it was more the mental abuse.
It's all toxicity of just
right.
And you put her down a lot or like?
Yeah, it was belittling sometimes, and it was hard because my mom, she did care, she loved him. And so but I mean, I remember being very young and wanting my mom to leave because we were hearing it all the time. And then if I stuck up for her to my dad, it was like a no, you don't disrespect your parent. Although he was disrespecting mine.
Exactly.
So it was hard because
Got
I
it.
felt right. And so at some point, it's like I lost, I went from being, his special little girl to like, you're just there now.
When you had like your own voice and
Right, when I started to speak up.
Why did she eventually decide to leave after it? They were married how long?
Oh yeah, she had been dealing with that they were married over 20 years.
Right.
Right. She had been dealing with it since my oldest brother had been, when she got pregnant with him, which was like right away. I think they were only together like 3 months. He had, I guess, had her threatened by then. But I didn't know this until I was older. Then she told me because at some point in high school, I started to not really get along with her. I started to lose respect for her.
Well, yeah, because you're seeing her,
and I was like, how are you raising me to be one way, but I'm seeing
you're raising me a strong woman, but you're not strong.
Right.
Because you're dealing, I get that.
Yeah, and it was just devastating for us to see it. I mean, she used to tell us, I'm staying for you guys, and we were like, please, this is awful.
So now you guys are all grown up, so is that kind of what it's like, now I can leave him? Is that where she
Yeah, so she finally got, right. My little brother was 20. She left him. They were separated for about a year. And then finally, and he tried during that year to reconcile. I mean, they still did things. He would still be involved to try to win her back.
So he was staying in the family home?
Yeah.
And she moved into the apartment?
Right.
Who was the breadwinner more? Because they both had like pretty cool jobs. I mean, you said she had like 2 jobs. She was working at the law firm.
She worked for the law firm, yeah.
And then
then
doing
she
something
did
else.
taxes on the side for H&R Block.
And then he was working on buses and then a bus driver. Did she make more money than him?
He did. So he worked for Sportsmobile before he became a bus driver, and at that point he was making more. And then once he lost that job, he went into working for the school district, and then the roles kind of changed.
And
I'm
did that
sure
get
that
to
had
anything?
Yeah.
Also got. I was imagining that because we already know, like, when you're in these cultures, I'm Armenian, you're Hispanic, and they're very just like a traditional male dominant culture.
Right. Right, and she never flaunted that or anything.
I
mean, for the most part, it didn't even seem like she got to use her own money. From my perspective, it was like she worked, but he handled the bills. He handled where everything went. He dictated what we did, where we went, how we spent money. He was the dictator and all that stuff. So him leaving, it was like he lost control. He couldn't get her back. And I mean, I remember being really young and telling her, if it's not, he doesn't have you, who does he have?
And he knew that.
Yeah, he knew that. Yeah, because his family lives in England, London. All his mom's side lives in London, and his dad passed.
How did his family take it? And what is your relationship like with his family?
We talk here and there. We don't talk often or all the time. Okay. They're all in England. Yeah. And it was really hard. His mom and then my mom's mom, they actually sat together at the funeral. My mom and my little brother's funeral, they sat together. My dad's mom, my grandma in England, asked if she mind if she sat with her, because it was, she felt awful.
Right. There's a responsibility.
Right, responsibility for what her son had did, which she had no control over, of course.
So she was really sure her attitude about everything was the right attitude that you needed from her.
Right. But my dad would read the Bible with his mom every morning. I mean, it blows my mind, because when I say these things out loud, it sounds crazy, and I witnessed it, him do these things regularly, and then to do such a horrific thing. It's like, how were you? Was it a show? It just makes me want to know what was going on in his head.
And what about his siblings? They also live in England?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all do.
Were they all there for you? Did they all act as good as his mom did, or what was that like?
It was just they came down. They came down for the services, and they try to be there for me as much as possible, considering like where they're at and where I'm at. But it was just all in that first year or two very, very hard. There was conflicting sides, on what my dad, people who were like, he couldn't, I can't believe he would do that, he would never. And then of course on my side, I'm advocating well, you weren't there behind closed doors, you don't know what really took place outside of what he let you see. And that's what is really big for me. I feel like my voice, or a lot of kids' voices, we don't have a voice when you're young. Nobody really listens. And we tried.
Especially then.
Right.
We're moving in a different direction now, but back then no one listened.
Nobody listened, right. Yeah. Now it's a whole different story, yeah.
And so there's different dynamics to it. I know it's going to be kind of going out of order. So you have an older brother. Mm-hmm. Your older brother was close to your dad. Mm-hmm. And you said in planning the funerals, he planned your father's funeral, and you planned your mom's funeral.
Right.
And your brother's funeral. So where did you guys decide that? Because so much is going on. And
well, we weren't, we butted heads immediately.
Right away.
Yeah, right away. I was really angry at the time. Very angry, because I felt like I had tried to say something was going to happen, and I didn't feel like he even didn't hear me. He didn't, not that he didn't want to listen.
Didn't you warn your mom an hour prior?
Oh yeah, she dropped me off at work. After work, she dropped me off to my car, and I had told her to make sure that she, if she talked to him, she said he wanted to talk, to do it somewhere public. I just had something for a long time in me, just a gut, that something was gonna. I watched him basically go from just depressed to just kind of blank. Because we still talked. He would still come over, and he would just sit on my couch and just look very empty. And I think at that point I kind of knew it was spiraling, and something could happen. Unfortunately, she didn't. She trusted him, I guess, to a degree, of course, to let him come to the home. And my little brother, unfortunately, was there as well. She would try to prevent him from being there when they would, talk or fight, because I think deep down she knew too.
And your little brother, he had a premonition when he was a kid that this was going to happen.
Yeah, he had a nervous breakdown when he was 6th grade, 7th grade. He was in the entertainment field industry. He would go to auditions all the time. He was on CBS Kids Show. He performed with Will Smith. He did lots of things.
Wow.
And then on one of those auditions, he came back, and it was just like a switch went off, and he was just not my little brother, which was a whole nother issue in itself on how the brain works, how you can just and they tested him. He wasn't drugged. Nothing was in his system. It just.
But so what did he say? What was his outburst?
He did say my dad was going to kill him.
He just knew that he had some type of.
I tried, and I was a kid too. I tried to find out what, because to me I was like, you don't come back like that, just saying things like something happened.
And he never said why?
No.
So him and his dad went on a trip?
Just them two. Yeah.
Wow. And he came back with that.
They went to an audition, and he came back like that. Yeah. Yep. And even then, it's frustrating as now, because I was like, how come nobody questioned what happened? It wasn't just about having a nervous breakdown. Nobody was questioning why he was saying the things he was saying. He got basically medicated until he was back to normal.
And then he also came out as being gay right before this happened, or like a year or two before that happened?
No, right before.
Right before.
Right before, like months, maybe not even maybe 3 months before.
So he wasn't living with the dad when he came out as being gay. He was living with just your mom
With
in the
my mom.
apartment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you guys think that he was gay prior to that? Did you assume?
Oh, yeah,
I
I
always
did.
hear that people assume.
I
like,
did,
everywhere.
yeah. I knew since we were little. Yeah, I knew since we were little, and even then it was accidental. He didn't come out. I think he dialed my mom or something like that, and that's how they ended up finding out. And it was very traumatic. It was very traumatic. And it was again just confronting my dad was the most traumatic part of that. We knew, my mom knew, a lot of my mom's family. We all, were like, we're gonna love you no matter what. We knew it was my dad that was he had me go to church, thinking that going to church was going to somehow make him straight, I guess. We had to go every Wednesday. I had to go with my little brother, convince him to go with me for a while.
Wow. And then that kind of triggered your dad as well. That was another element of, you think, on top of it? How did he, because...
I mean, I don't think that was it. There wasn't something that I know that, like, he was, I don't want to say anti at all, but he wasn't something
Well, in our culture, it's taken a long time for our
right. It was just not something he
I
didn't
mean,
want. And but no, I think it was more. He did have a little bit of blame on him feeling like my mom chose her kids over him, because me and
So
my
there was
little
a
brother
jealousy
were
too.
kind of the ones that were like telling her like, this is not okay. We were there helping her move stuff out.
He knew that you guys were against him.
Oh yeah.
And he knew his other son was for him, or
Right.
wanting it. Okay.
Yeah. He had left her a voicemail that morning, that day that she passed. She let me hear it, and he was just upset, blamed me and my little brother for her leaving him, and he's choosing us over her. When in reality, it's like there were so many things over the years. He would never really, I guess, take responsibility for.
And then that's why you think he chose the day before your birthday
I think so. Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, he had actually the day before that. So my birthday was the 14th, which was a Wednesday. Tuesday was the 13th, which is when he did it. But the Monday, the 12th, he had picked my daughter up from daycare, which was Gordy's mom, and I didn't know he wasn't supposed to, and he wouldn't tell me where they were. And he was waiting for my mom that day with my daughter outside of her apartment. He just, by the grace of God, I got lucky because he didn't know that she had an H&R Block class that day.
Oh, so
she didn't tell him.
He was waiting for
He
her,
was
but she never
waiting.
came.
Right. And
so
he was
you don't know
going
if that was the
crazy,
day.
calling her. And so I called her, and when I got a hold of her, she was like, what do you mean he has my daughter? And she was like, he's literally been like, going off on me on the phone. And she had no idea that my daughter was there the whole time while they were arguing on the phone. So she was like, I'm going to tell him I'm not going to let him know where I'm at until she is with you again, because that's what would drive him crazy, is not having control over everywhere she's at. And so she did, and then that's when he told me to go get her, and he was already parked there. So, I mean, it's hard to even say it still out loud, but I think that his plan originally was to do it that night and take my daughter's life.
And so over time, dealing with this right away, I know your mind went to some dark places, and you yourself thought of like taking your life.
Oh yeah.
Do you think having your daughter is a big part of what stopped you?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. It was. I mean, there were several nights where she walked in. I would, have the shower running, so she wouldn't be able to hear me cry, and she just knew. She would come in. I mean, but yeah, there was one night I really did not. It was hard for me to want to live when I knew that they were not, and that it was something that I had feared since I was a kid happening. Yeah, I mean, I talked to my friends when I was in high school about, not specifically he's going, but I just knew something bad was going to happen. Right.
And then where do you stand with your older brother now? Because you guys didn't talk for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah, we're close now. It's taken us years to get close again. We still are on different sides of he's very taking it to the grave. That was his best friend, his hero, because my dad was a good dad outside of the bad. There was good. He did lots of things. He taught us how to drive. I mean, if I had a flat tire, he was the first one there to come help.
He was a very involved father.
He was very involved, right? So it wasn't like it was always bad. It's just I just wish he had gotten the help or spoke up that he was even having these thoughts in order to get help. Or that my mom even could have shared more than what she was sharing.
You're so put together now, but at what point, because like you said, you were so angry at him when it first happened, at what point did you start looking at him like a human being again, to where it's like, oh, he must have been suffering because he realizes, at what point did your brain start to like put the anger down here and look at him as a human being again?
It took years. It took years. 3 months after that happened, I lost my mom's mom, my grandma, which was like a second mom to me. And at that point, I had lost complete faith in God. I didn't believe in God anymore. I felt like, how could all this stuff be happening? I had night terrors for a long time where I would see my dad in very awful ways. And I would say it took a good 2 to 3 years before I finally felt like the anger was taking over me. And I went to church by myself. And I remember crying the whole time I was there because I knew I needed to forgive him in order to feel better, to forgive myself. And after that is when I started to see him in a different way. He still did a very awful thing.
You got to see him, his pain, and think about it.
And then start wondering, like, how did it get to that point? Right.
And then he wrote, there's a photo next to him, or he wrote something. So what was that about? He
had blown up their wedding picture and had put like the date on there, RIP 7/13. I think he put something like it was never enough, or I wasn't in, something along those lines. But yeah, that was there too at the crime scene. So it was definitely something he had thought about, planned out. My oldest had told, at the time she was only 4.5, she had told her babysitter's son that her grandpa, her G-pa, had a gun. So I know that she had saw something that day before.
Did you know he had a gun?
We knew he had a gun, and we just never could find it. And I mean, over the time, he had, there was a time where the cops were called, like at a Me and Ed's, I think it was a Me and Ed's, because a family discussion he just kind of went off he basically said he was going to kill himself and run into traffic, and they had to take him to like 5150. But even then, he called me from there, and he was like laughing. He's like, they're crazy in here. And I was bawling my eyes out because I was just like, do you know what you're doing to us? Like this, it was like, you just did all this crazy stuff, and then you call me laughing like it was just a show or no big deal. And at that point, my mom tried to find where the gun was. Her and my older brother at the house, but they never found it.
Because they were about him harming himself.
Right.
How did your grandma react to all of it, your mom's mom? And do you think that her dying not long after was because of her broken heart over her daughter dying?
I do. Yeah, I do. It was absolutely devastating to her. She was there with me a lot, and of course I cried. We both cried all the time.
How did she feel about your dad? Did she start to see signs?
Yeah, a lot of my mom and family kind of knew. Like, he was very just controlling, but he was such a friendly person.
And a great
it was like hard to not for them to
father,
they would see and hear, of course, some of the bad stuff. My mom wouldn't share it all, but then they would see all that, and he would help whoever. If my aunt's car, but he was just a man who did it all. So they still cared for him and stuff. So when that all happened, it was like they were hard. It was hard on who was going to go to the funerals, which I was okay with whoever went to whatever funerals, But I know it was really hard.
Did you go to your dad's funeral?
No. No, I didn't. I couldn't.
But it wasn't on the same day, right? It was.
No, it was
sounds like people could go to both. Some people went to both.
Yeah, it was separate.
Did she go, your grandma? Mm-hmm. The one that your mom's mom went to?
Yeah,
his?
she went. She was there. And actually, before she passed, I think she forgave him because she had brought out a picture that my dad was in holding my oldest daughter, or my daughter, who was little at the time. She brought it out onto, where all the pictures were. She had taken it, of course, and put it, she didn't want any pictures of him out after he did what he did. But the night before she passed, she brought that picture out and put it back and had said that it wasn't my daughter, it's not her fault. Like, he was still a good grandpa to her. And then she passed the next day. So it was weird. It was almost like she kind of knew maybe that I don't know that death was coming to her, but I do feel like it did take a toll on her. That everything that happened, she was already into her 80s, and it was just too much for her to bear.
So how did you start? Because I just know you was having this great disposition, being very open, being very honest, being very positive. How, I know it took forever to get up, but what?
Oh, yeah.
You said you went to church. At what point did you become this version of yourself?
Well, I mean, I still break down quite often. I mean, not as often, of course, as before. I do still have moments. It could be songs. I go to the cemetery once a month. I've been doing that since they died. So for years, if I don't go, it's just, I don't feel right. You know, if I'm going to miss, I won't miss a month. If it's been a month and I haven't gone, I'm like, that's priority for me to go. And it is a process. Like I try and tell people, like they will say the same. You carry yourself so well, or I would never have guessed. But it takes time. Healing takes time. I think I'm still in that journey and talking about it, meeting people who are also going either through something similar. It might not be the same story as mine, but you would be surprised on how many people are silently battling, you know, things that they just don't feel like they can talk about.
And you said talking about it's helping you. Like
Yeah.
it's really helping.
Oh, yeah.
Were you always like that after it happened, or did it take you a while before you wanted to talk to people about it?
It took me going to I did go see a therapist, you know, go help talk to somebody.
Group therapy or personal?
Just personal,
Okay.
one-on-one, yeah. And I felt like it wasn't the connection wasn't personal enough. I almost felt like every time I went in there, I was just another person. He was writing in his book. I had to repeat a lot of things. So after that is when I started to really talk to friends, talk to family, people who would give me their ear and also want to hear and not feel like they were getting tired of listening. And then eventually I realized that that's what I needed. I needed to talk about it.
Did you lose friends during the process? Tell us about like afterwards, because I know you said you find out who your true friends are after those moments.
Yeah.
How did it go? Like to where you started kind of like maybe losing people or getting closer connections? How did that process happen?
I would say that I was surprised on how many friends showed up to like the visual and stuff. Like, I mean, there was friends that I hadn't seen since high school that showed up, which I really appreciated. But yeah, over time, I think I did lose a little bit of connections because it was either me, I drank after it all happened a lot. I mean, I tried to numb myself of all my feelings, all my pain. And I know that wasn't healthy. And then I ended up getting into CrossFit, working out, exercise, and that completely changed things. It basically saved my life.
So you did a bad addiction and a good addiction.
Right, and through those,
okay.
yeah, so through those, some of my friends fell off just because we weren't going out anymore as much. There was no more, yeah, right. And then it was like, oh, now all you talk about is your work, you know, working out, or that's all you're doing. But for me, it was like that was my form of therapy, was working out. I showed up and my mind was just elsewhere there. And I met people within those gyms that had some pretty, you know, crazy stories themselves.
What do you hope to accomplish? Because by getting your story out there and talking to people, what do you want to resonate with people and their viewers watching right now?
Mainly to talk, to be vocal about what's going on at home. Whether it is somebody young, I know, like my little brother, I didn't find out until after he passed that he was volunteering his time at Marjorie Mason Center.
Wow.
Talking about domestic violence. And I had no idea he was even doing that. Yeah, I found that out after he passed away. But stuff like that, speaking, because a lot of times and I know even for me as a kid, it is scary to tell people what's happening at home when everyone around you is telling you, no, it doesn't look that way. You know, that can't be it. Or even like for my mom, I have clients, I deal with workers' comp clients, so I even have clients who will end up sharing with me their stories of what's happening at home, and you'd be surprised. I mean, women who are do the same thing, fleeing their husbands and petrified.
But what do you even think it could have been done differently? Because the thing is you already knew something was wrong, and your mom got a restraining order, and the cops said nothing can be done until something bad happens.
Right.
So what can we do if we see a red flag in somebody like that? What could we do?
I mean, I feel like even when they took my dad 5150, I mean, something should have changed there. Just, you know, holding them and letting them out right away.
Yeah, we don't have a good system of attacked right now.
Doing that. I mean, and
so that's some changes you want to see made.
Lots of changes, and I think, I mean, we do have like the walks and NAMI. A lot of people don't even know about NAMI and what they offer and their services. And so I just think bringing light to a lot of stuff like that, what the help that is out there, so more people feel like, well, if they know that they can walk outside, walk across the street, get, some kind of treatment, and it's not going to be such a process where it's like either you got to pay or you need insurance or all these things, just making it having the resources available and making it a little easier to access.
And finding the right resources. Like your dad could have gone with other like support group where it wasn't like a support group like you have a problem, like a support group of people that are normal going through some stuff.
Right, yeah. I know things have definitely changed. I mean, we hear a lot about mental health, I think especially with social media, but I still don't feel like there's enough emphasis on how deep that goes. It's not like, oh, mental health isn't just the crazy, the bipolars.
Exactly.
It's not, there's so much more besides those type of illnesses that you can go into, I mean, I just.
And before we go, you were saying too, you got a victims pack. There was a help that you received, an aid you never knew was available. What was that?
Yes, that was called the Victims of Crime. So they, if you are a victim of a crime, my mom, like my brother, even though it was my father who took their lives, they're considered a victim of a crime, and they actually helped with the services. So they have an amount that they allocate to you, and you are able to use that amount for the casket, for the church, for whatever you can, and whatever you don't use, of course, goes back into the fund. But that's another thing I had no idea existed. And they were absolutely great to me, absolutely great. I mean, I was crumbling, of course. I was essentially felt like a kid having to put together a funeral for both my mom and my brother, and they were, whatever I needed, they were right there.
Thank you so much for coming on my show. Can
Thank
you tell everybody your social media so they could follow you and DM you if they have any questions?
Yeah, so my social media is, it's Des, DESS.714. And I do talk a lot on there. You'll see all my videos of me lifting and stuff, but I do talk a lot about how, if I'm having a good day, bad day, and then different things that we can do, or anything I'm a part of, a walk, stuff like that. I'll post about it on there.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming on my show today.
All right, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
You brought some goodies with you.
Yes, we do local farming for the microgreens here in the Fresno area.
So that means that the way you guys grow these are very different. So tell us about the process.
For us, we grow in, we have a greenhouse, and we grow on a vertical grow system. It's a rack system. So we have trays that are 23 by 24 inches.
These trays.
Yeah, right here. So we have a demo tray right here, and so we grow them on here. We put soil. We put seeds. It's the same seed you would plant as a mature, but we do high density, and because we're harvesting them at such a young age, they'll germinate in blackout. So it pretends that they're underground, but they're really on the top of the soil for like 3 days up to 9 days, depending on the crop. And then the average, we'll harvest them once every 2 weeks approximately.
Wow, so that's all year round because it's in a greenhouse.
Yep. So we grow to what they call, here, these leaves, they're cotyledons. They're the leaves that come out from the energy from the seed before they pulled any nutrients out of the soil. And so after this, you would start getting true leaves, which you can see a little bit.
So is that what this crop is? This
Yeah,
is
just a little bit. These are ones they start pulling out of the soil. So we want to harvest them right at that point because that's when they're the most nutrient dense, dense and packed, and the flavor.
So what's the difference in the flavors between this and the other stuff that's not grown like this?
Some of them have the exact same as a microgreen. This particular one here, this purple, is radish. So it's going to taste just like your normal radish that you have in the bulb. The difference is going to be in texture and how you can apply it. You can put like the radish in sandwiches on top of like eggs, and you can mix it in with a regular salad. But instead of having the hard root, the crunch, you just get the ease, of application.
So do you tell a lot of people when they come and explain that? Because sometimes you're like, well, what's that? And you're like, well, if you
Yeah,
like radishes, you're going to want this one.
Yeah,
If you like...
we're at the Friday night farmers market, and our main purpose there isn't actually for sales.
It's to educate
It's for
people.
education. This is very well known, East Coast. It actually started out on the West Coast in San Francisco back in the 80s.
Wow.
And there it's pretty well known, but it jumped to the East Coast.
Because we couldn't grow things like we can here.
Yeah, the population density is so much more there that it can support a lot of stuff like this. And so it's just finally starting to kind of come back this way. So it's education. We're there, it's nice to have sales and, we get exposure, meeting people and
Do you
that sort
sell
of stuff.
stuff in the stores?
Not yet. We've approached a couple, but most of the stores that we have here in town are bigger chained, and the requirements to get into them are pretty extensive. So it's us finishing our process to, I'd like to get in this like the Save Mart stores. They have a lot of national requirements. So to get in those, you have to be a pretty big distributor. It's unfortunate. On the East Coast, they have a lot more smaller kind of, I don't want to call them mom and pop, but they're not national chain, so they're able to get into the stores a lot easier. There's a couple of stores here in town that have microgreens. I've looked at them. I'm not interested in them, but
Really? Why?
they're grown in, like, say, the ones that they have, like, at Vaughn's. Vaughn's has some. They're grown down in the San Diego area, so they have to harvest them, they have to process them, then they're shipped up here, and then they have to be brought around to all the different stores. So by the time you get them, they're already, almost a week old. You have
Wow, so this has to stay fresh. You have to
Yeah.
get this right away.
Yeah, they have to, maintain, and which we do as well, what they call a cold chain. So when you harvest them cold. They immediately go into a refrigeration system. When we bring them to the market, we have them in a cold chest with ice packs, keeping them cold. When I brought it and unpacked them, you can see where I still have the cold from them. So these are still cold, and you want to maintain that. But when you're getting them from the store, you have to rely on they've maintained that cold chain. From one vendor to the trailer, you have to make sure that the store is rotating them properly. And so me, if I have the choice between a local, then I'm going to go local, because we do restaurants, we do home delivery. So we have a website you can get on and do like a subscription model.
I love
and
that.
we will do free home delivery. And
So what's the radius that we could do that?
Pretty much anywhere in Fresno.
So everybody watching can get that.
We're not quite out to the Madera yet, but if I get enough out there to warrant a route, basically, I have no problem going that far.
And you offer a great deal to restaurants, pretty much, right?
Yeah. I basically undercut the local, so they get a fresh product. I either cut it the night right before delivery, or a lot of times that morning we'll cut harvest,
possible, yeah.
and so they're getting same day delivery.
And what restaurants are you in right now?
I do 5. I do Max's Bistro.
All the good ones.
We do. Let's see. Oh, we just got a brand new one right there on Pulaski, Blast and Brew. So they'll be starting with us this coming week. So I've already worked it out with their head chef guy.
With the pizza? That's a pizza?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So this is what they're interested in right here. And he took some of that stuff and they were using
spicy chef blend. So this is the kind of stuff that you put on a pizza.
It is. So right after when it comes out, don't put it in the oven. It'll wilt it too much. So this kind of stuff you put on as a finisher.
So you have to explain to the chefs exactly how they do it to not lose
So some of them.
a lot of education.
It is. I go in and I talk to them pretty much on a weekly basis, kind of working it in. What we're in the process of doing right now is we're growing some extras because we're trying to develop an actual a salad, a microgreen salad.
That's 100% from your.
that we can present to the restaurants to order.
Wow.
You know, they got like a Caesar salad, you've got a chef salad, you know, and
You guys have the
wanna add
microgreen salad.
and a microgreen salad. So we're working on the development of that, and you know, it'll be colorful. It'll have it'll have the sunflower, which is a big hit because they put it.
Which one can I try?
Oh, you try any of them.
I'll
But
try
this is a sunflower, and but you know, it won't taste like a sunflower
Oh my
seed.
God,
It's
that's so
kinda-
delicious.
It is the most firm. A lot of people like them for the firm, the little crunch. They'll put them on like a lot of the meat dishes as like a garnish. Most people know these as a garnish, but our purpose when we're educating is I actually want to incorporate them with the restaurants and people who eat them at home as a legit ingredient. You know, if you're making like a meat sandwich or something like that at the house and you're putting your lettuce and your tomato and like a BLT or something, you can put any of this on there, you know, to replace. Like we have the pea here, which is, you know, a sweet pea. It tastes like, you know, sweet pea when you try it. You can put that with the broccoli. Broccoli is, and especially the broccoli family, is some of the best you can have for it has sulforaphane. It's
my
basically
God.
an anti-cancer.
How long have you guys been doing this?
Almost a year and a half. We spent the first probably 6 to 9 months learning how to grow them.
Wow.
You know, and the last 6 months is where we've really started to kind of grow out and you know, get our subscription, our weekly deliveries
As a
to our
family
home.
business.
Yes.
So right now it's primarily just her and I at the house, and as soon as we get a little bit bigger, you know, full time. So she's home now. She helps us at the farmers market.
And so you're not doing it full time yet?
Well, I do it full time, but it's in addition to my regular work.
That,
you know,
exactly. That's what I'm
hourly
saying.
work.
Like, yeah. It's
But the
you'll
goal.
dump that one day, huh?
That's.
Your boss is watching.
Oh no! Oh, they know. They already know.
know.
I'm not bashful about that.
They already know.
But no, the goal is to you know, bring us both home and do this full time. But I want to be big enough to support the community as well. You know, I plan on having it be big enough to be in, you know, all the restaurants. I do want to be able to get into the stores and, you know, have a local product, because there are the stores that, you know, Save Mart and Vons and stuff like that. They like to incorporate local into their stores,
Right.
but it's going through that process that you have to match them with a. You know, you have to send all your stuff in to be tested, you know, for, you know, like E. coli
Exactly.
and stuff like that, you know, and we're just not up to that stage yet. So.
Why did you guys want to get involved? There's so much that goes into this. So what made you think this will be a fun venture?
Well, that would probably be me. I like the idea of working for myself, and I just got on the internet and I was like looking, and I was like, okay, what are some things that we can grow? We have 2 acres of property where we're at, and so I've got, you know, 1.5 acres. I can plant something, and I'd come across bamboo, and oddly enough, but that takes a lot of money to get into to do, and so I was looking on a list. You know, what are the top 10 growing agricultural things? And this was right up there, and I was like, oh. I know what microgreens are. Those are like really good. That I said nobody does that around here. And
Nobody
so
does.
I
That's
did
right.
some local. There's a couple of vendors that just do small. There's a farmer's market up on the vineyard up on
Right.
Blackstone, and there's a gentleman there, but that's his only market. You know, I went and spoke with him. He has no intention to do any kind of deliveries. He doesn't want to do no restaurants. You come to him, or maybe he'll mail something, you know, local. He does like dried peppers or whatever. But, you know, my purpose is to supply, you know, the people that can't find what they're looking for in the stores. You know, I get people coming to me, hey, you know, we've been looking around for this. I know what these are. And
The
yeah.
cilantro. I
Yes.
tried the cilantro.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I love cilantro.
Now, I can't eat mature cilantro. I'm one of those weird ones that it has that weird taste to it, but micro cilantro smells so good, and I can eat it. I don't get that weird little aftertaste
Oh my
that you get a lot.
This is so amazing.
It's harvested so young. This is a 3-week crop, so it takes a little longer to grow. So that's the radish.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. So how do you get people to try these in the first place that are kind of like, so there are a lot of people that don't like to eat greens. And it's crazy in this world. Like a lot of people are just not health conscious. How do you get people to like fall in love with this?
Just talk to them. We do samplers. We do little demos. We were at the tail end of the farmers market last year, and we had a little 4-chamber that we would put greens into. Good. And this is the one. You didn't open this, right? This is leek. It's a micro onion. The chefs really like this because of the color and that sort of stuff. I don't want to burst it and throw it all over.
I will eat it. This is so good. This is just
this stuff right here is really good for like seafood, and because it tastes just like onion, but it's one of my favorites actually.
Oh my God.
My favorites are the mustard and the radish.
Yeah, I
Which was the mustard?
I don't have the mustard.
We don't have
it's
the
part of
mustard
the.
here.
It's in here as part of the spicy mix, but it tastes just like wasabi.
It also gives a slight burn like wasabi.
I love spicy.
You'll know it, but it's in the spicy mix, and
I can't wait till you guys get the salads too. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're probably 2, maybe 3 weeks. We have trays growing, and so it's just working it. Because I want to use the sunflower as part of the base, but I just ordered a new seed that we haven't tried that I'm going to be playing with. It's actually cantaloupe. I know it sounds funny, but it looks just like the sunflower, but it tastes just like cantaloupe cucumber mix.
Wow.
Yeah, and so use that as the base.
Do you create a lot of like hybrids when you're out there kind of experimenting with stuff? I imagine that.
Well, you can grow a microgreen pretty much with any kind of herb or vegetable, and there's a lot of people out there that do a lot. I'm currently up to about 12 different varieties. I only bring probably 8 of them to the market. Some of the other ones are just basically just kind of specialty stuff, like the purple in here. This here is called Auric. It's basically what they call mountain spinach. It tastes just like spinach, but it's purple.
Amazing.
But it's hard to get the seed. It's very rare. It's kind of an expensive seed. It's the general public is not going to shell out for that. But I can put it in the mix for the color for the restaurants as part of their mix, because I don't change the price of the mix when I include that into for the restaurants. I have a flat fee that I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's whatever we come up with the restaurant, and one of the restaurants, Max's, only gets the sunflower, and they put them on all of their dishes that they send out, and they do. But that's the only thing that they want. But our latest one that we wants this type of product right here with all the small, the little colors. They were using them. They were doing a special this last weekend with specialty tacos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so they were putting that on instead of the lettuce or cabbage and that sort of stuff. They were replacing it with this. So the cilantro goes really well with the restaurants because it's a little more expensive than what they get from the vendor.
So good.
But with the vendors, they're getting the big stocks.
Exactly.
And when they process it, they're getting rid of like 80% of what they purchase.
That's bad, yeah.
And then the time it takes to process what they're doing, where the micro cilantro you could just take straight. There's no process. You're saving all that time. And the flavor is pretty intense.
So where can we follow you guys, and where can we actually get a hold of you guys if we do want the delivery?
If you want to get on and order online, you can go to midvalleymicrogreens.com. We have a website there, and it's all our basically our retail stuff, all our chef stuff. We do one-on-one because we need to figure out what it is that their goals are, and so we set those up separate. We have an Instagram, which is Mid-Valley Microgreens. So we got lucky enough that we did that ahead of time. We went and got all the names before we came out, so everything can match. So, and then on all our labels, we have the little QR codes, and that goes direct to our website. So it's an automatic link straight
And
to it.
what about your number? You put that out there too?
Uh,
No, we'll just we'll email you.
I
With
do.
the Instagram. That's
but
fine.
It used to go to my personal phone, but we just recently got a business phone.
There's a demand. I can understand.
And it's on here. I just don't have it memorized, but it's 559. It's 981 4324.
Awesome.
And you could just call because I don't have that one memorized
Thank
yet.
you guys so much for
no,
coming
thank
on my
you.
show.
Yes,
you
it's
for
very
having
good.
us.
So, they talk so much. You have to ask them direct questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh I must confess dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend. Playing pretend, playing pretend, ooh, playing pretend.
It's a mystery.